Hello and welcome to another episode of the show Squawk. My name is Councillor Ankunda Joel Matsiko, known to many as AJ or Joel. And first of all, I want to say a huge and genuine thanks to all those who have supported the podcast so far, who've watched, who've liked and shared the last show Squawk episode. And it was just over 10 minutes long, and I know it's not exactly the short form 30-second clips that we are all told to make these days. However, the feedback I got has been really positive, and people really appreciated the detail I've got into, and also people have appreciated me just speaking openly about issues that matter to me. So before I begin, I should really make it clear that this podcast is recorded in my own personal capacity. The views I share on this podcast are my own reflections on matters affecting Sherwood, Nottingham, and beyond. And from time to time, I will also touch on migration and immigration law matters, drawing upon my professional experience, present experience as an immigration advisor, as well as other matters that I feel passionate about, and also want to generate support for and awareness. However, please remember that nothing in this podcast should be taken or treated as me acting in my official capacity as a Nottingham City Councillor. Today, I want to speak about something that this morning woke me up with a sense of distinct melancholy, a sadness, a reflection that really got into gear for me last night as I was preparing for the next Show a Squawk episode. And it's on something entirely different to what I'm going to talk about today, and I might publish it either tomorrow or Monday. But I could just not ignore the deeply tragic news of the death of Professor Jason Arday, a professor of sociology at the University of Cambridge and a fellow of Jesus College, Cambridge. From what I have seen and read and researched for this podcast episode, a special episode outside of my normal episodes, is that to me he lives on as a great hero and role model on a number of poignant subjects. And what also deeply resonated with me about him and from watching his videos was his kind and compassionate nature. I only have love and deep heartfelt condolences for him, his family, his friends, and everyone who met him or knew him, and all those respecting his memory and his achievements. And these achievements should never have been stripped away, in my opinion. I don't I did not get the opportunity to meet him myself, and I'm only hearing about him in the mainstream media now, just like everybody else. But my view is that all the allegations against him are false and also malicious. I've seen this happen before to others, and by those who simply just don't respect his achievements and felt that he did not deserve to be where he quite rightly was, and also what he worked for. And whilst I don't have all the facts, I have come to this conclusion because the clear, ulterior, hateful motives behind the claims against him. You see, what has been clearly identified and reported is that the initial claims came from an early career research fellow at the University of Cambridge. This fellow is allegedly a self described race realist, and he published the initial allegations against Professor Arday. And from an article that I read this morning, written by the community affairs correspondent or a community affairs correspondent at The Guardian, it is written that the research fellow was sacked in 2024 by the university for something quite egregious, something quite shocking. You see, this research fellow, he wrote in a blog post, as is written in The Guardian, and he suggested that in a meritocracy, there would be close to zero black professors at Harvard. And in the same article from The Guardian, there's a distinct example of why this is a hate crime issue. And because, there's a white Cambridge academic who's also of similar seniority, who was accused of plagiarism a few years ago, plagiarism from multiple students' work, of his students' work. And he only kept his job by saying at the hearing that it was a mistake. And more critically, and what makes it different, he did not receive the amount of vile media attention that this case has. And as mentioned, I've never had the opportunity to meet Professor Arday, but by all accounts, he was a kind and gentle man. A father, a friend, a role model for many, especially autistic children and young people, where his life and his achievements are a powerful reminder that we all should not be limited by how others perceive us. Professor Jason Arday should not have been reduced to these allegations and headlines or the noise. I don't accept that. And these were done by people who didn't care for him, yet alone themselves, as it seems. This cruel hate crime against him reminds us that in many ways, life is 1% action, 99% reaction. Not only what happens to us, but how we respond to it and how others respond to it. And the importance of choosing fairness, compassion, and dignity over suspicion, ill-informed judgment, and cruelty. For many people, especially those who have been made to feel that certain spaces are not built for them, his presence at one of the most prestigious universities in the world did matter quite a lot. He demonstrated possibility, intellect, perseverance, kindness, and dignity. So I simply want to honour Professor Arday and pay tribute to his life, his work, and the example he gave to so many, including myself. May you rest in power, Professor Arday, and may your family, friends, colleagues and students, and all those who fully and genuinely loved you find strength and comfort. May your legacy continue to remind us that brilliance can come from anyone, regardless of background, and that difference is not deficiency, and that no one's humanity should ever be lost beneath ill-intended public judgment. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.